Okay, we're live with another episode of BS Busters. Thank you for joining. We got started a little bit late, but stuff
Things
happens.
happen.
You know.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, I would like to thank you for joining us. That includes my panelists and those who are watching and those who will watch it. Thank you for giving us an hour and a half of your time. Before we go any further, I would like to have the panelists introduce themselves, starting with the lady first.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the BS Busters Midweek Podcast. And of all days, July the 1st. I am Joy Eli Moonstar, and we're going to have ourselves a rant on the top 10 and talk about our own games that we like.
All right. Um, Kanoshi?
Hey, it's Kanoshi Abaonito. Here, glad to be on another one of these BS Busters.
All right, and of course it's me, Mr. Red Fox, owner and proprietor of BS Busters. So without much ado, oh wait, no, can't go much ado into it. In order to get in touch with the channel, you can reach me at Mr. Red Fox, aka BS Busters, at Mr. Red Fox BS Buster at gmail.com, or at Matthew Wesley at Mr. Red Fox 91, or at Discord. There is a link at the BS Buster Discord server underneath this video. So with that being said,
below.
That's right, in the description below. So with that being said, let's get into this is a no bullshit zone in BS Busters. We dedicate ourselves to pointing out bullshit in the video game industry and or development field. And occasionally that goes into pop culture because bullshit is a nexus. It covers many forms of media. So with that being said,
Great, now you got me thinking about the Nexus looking in a brown color. Thank you very much.
that is true. Bullshit. It's like the Force. It's everywhere. But with that being said, let's get into it. So our first topic for tonight is well, apparently, Activision, the developers of Crash 4 say, well, there aren't microtransactions in the game.
We heard this line before.
Here's the thing, okay? They did this with Crash Team Racing, the reboot. Remember the remake, right?
As I said, they did this before, and 1 month later.
Yeah, when it launched, it didn't have. Well, I think it was like 2 months later, or 3 months later. But like when it launched, it did not have microtransactions, and then they added them after the fact. Really, it was okay. So they didn't even wait.
What? Where are the what? First of all, what were the microtransactions? Out of curiosity.
Well, basically, they added this rotating content thing, where basically you could earn these fictional coins in game by doing races in order to get certain costumes and shit like that, like in character skins.
Or certain racers even, which is a pain in the.
Well, I mean, you could unlock the base racers just through playing the game, like through story mode and that type of stuff. Yeah, but the special racers you could unlock as well. But the thing is that there were different skins for the racers and different parts you could get for the cars, cosmetic, I think. But in order for you to get those, you had to spend this fictional money that you could get by racing. And you could just do that just through grinding, like when you first got the game. The problem is that once they launched the microtransaction store, they upped the prices of for you grinding just through normal gameplay to get these things. So it would take a longer time if you played it conventionally.
They not only did that, but they lowered the amount that you get from.
Yeah, they upped the prices and they lowered the amount you got through just conventionally playing the game, so that to entice you to spend real money for fake money, so that you get fake shit for fake characters. So,
yeah.
I mean, so technically speaking, Crash Team Racing, the remake, didn't launch with microtransactions. They added them after the fact. And so Activision has done this before. Like, everyone's like, well, they said, I was like, look, I can't trust you people because you've done half-ass shit before. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
As I said earlier, you did this before. You did this before, and you think I'm believing you now, you sons of. I got a fruit launcher that's aimed right for your behinds. If the moment you guys say that there's microtransactions for certain characters, I'm just waiting.
All right, Kenoshi, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, didn't it come out? Didn't it just get announced that they will have microtransactions? I remember Jim Sterling doing a video about it a few days ago.
No, they said that Microsoft basically on a product listing for the game said that it would have microtransactions. And then Activision came out and said, like, I think the developer said, no, it won't have microtransactions. Personally, I think they're going to do what they did with Crash Team Racing. They're going to release the game, let it marinate for a month, and then add microtransactions after the fact. Maybe with some new content.
Yes, that's what I'm waiting on.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for them to put that beep and promise, and then I can launch this beep and fruit up there.
Now, here's the thing. I wasn't going to buy the shit anyway because I don't like Crash Bandicoot. So for me, it's not really an issue. But for people who are really into Crash Bandicoot, this is kind of a you know, because those last Crash Bandicoot games did not have microtransactions.
Yeah.
And yet this new one, the new ones made by Activision do, except for the Crash trilogy remake they did.
Yeah.
Huh. What loads of BS to find.
So, I mean, for me personally, I'm just kind of like, I don't trust it. I know some people are going to get mad. They're going to be like, but they said this.
Trust them only as far as you could throw a sumo wrestler. And how many of us can throw a sumo wrestler?
I can't. But, I mean, personally, I just don't trust... The
worst thing is, I'm sad to say that I'm hoping that Blizzard gets away from Activision at this point.
I mean, Activision has basically proven that they are untrustworthy at this point. You know,
exactly
with how Blizzard's been doing shit and how Activision's just been like running things into the ground. I can't trust Activision. Not that I ever was a huge Activision fan. Like, I think the last time I really liked Activision's games was the 6th gen. You know, before microtransactions became a thing, I liked Activision. And I never liked Call of Duty. So before someone says, what about Call of Duty? I never liked Call of Duty on consoles. I played a little bit of Call of Duty on PC back in the day, and I thought it was okay, but I'm not like, you know.
It's funny that I actually evaded the shooter pandemic when it was flourishing on PlayStation 2 and on the other consoles.
Well, I'm not against first-person shooters. I mean, like I said, I had a gaming PC back in the day, and you know, I played Quake, I played Quake Arena, I played Unreal Tournament, I played Halo. The first 2 Halo games I played on PC. I loved playing those games on PC with LAN and online. Like, this is back in the day. I remember when I got DSL over when we upgraded from dial-up to DSL. Oh man, it was a beautiful day in my household. But you know, like, personally, I think online gaming got worse when it became more casual. And when these companies started, like Xbox Live especially, I think it got worse when Xbox Live came on. And I know people are going to get angry, but here's my argument for that, okay? You know, if you, like, Xbox Live when it first came on, you know, added voice chat and all that other shit. And this is when you started getting people who were abusive online, and there was no moderation for people to say, hey, this person is, you know, this person's screen name is a racist slur. This person is saying really fucked up shit because Microsoft just wanted that money, right? Because here's the thing. I remember playing Unreal back in the day, and if someone said some, Tribes, like online games with like online lobbies and shit, and if someone had a racist slur as their name, the community moderator would kick their ass out. And that would be the end of it. Like, they'd either change their name or they wouldn't be allowed to be on that server anymore. And yet with Xbox, they're like, no, we want everyone to be able to do whatever they want to do. And it made gaming worse, in my opinion, because, you know, now that all this shit's coming out, they're like, oh, well, you know, no racist slurs for your names. You know, you can't be abusive with voice chat. Why should people, like, you know, if you guys had nipped this shit in the bud back in the day, you wouldn't have to do this now.
Yeah, I mean, there's some communities that are real strong and go after some real trash like that. And yet, look at some of the communities that are around now.
But that's just me. Kenoshi, your thoughts?
No, not in particular. What was the question again? Sorry.
We were basically talking about how we don't really trust Activision, and then we segued. It kind of went off into a tangent about how the last time I actually gave a shit about Activision's IPs was the 6th gen.
Oh yeah, I haven't really cared about Activision since Call of Duty Black Ops 2. But other than that, I don't really care. I mean, I did enjoy the Crash and Spyro games, but not necessarily because they were made by Activision or published by Activision.
Okay. We can keep it moving. So our next topic is, news story is Nintendo's president has apologized for the Joy-Con drift issues. I mean,
if it's anything, it's better late than never, but it kind of bugs me that it took so long for them to talk about it at times, because if anything, that would usually, if they're quiet, that would mean that either they're working on it or they're trying to ignore it. Hopefully the first one.
I mean, here's the thing. Okay, look. The reason that the Joy-Cons were like that is because Nintendo rushed to get the Switch out for that holiday season. Okay?
I was about to say, holiday season, it came out on March.
I mean, not holiday season. They wanted to get it out for that fiscal quarter. And they rushed to get it out there. Because typically speaking, you can go look this up. I think there's a book about it. There's 2 or 3 books about it. Typically speaking, I don't know about other companies, but I remember looking this up. Nintendo, when it comes to them testing their hardware, I mean, it's extreme how they test their hardware. So I find it hard to believe that they were necessarily
lacking in quality control.
Well, lacking that they didn't know that this was an issue. But I think they were like, look, the Wii U is fucking up. We need to replace it. We need to wash the taste of the Wii U out of consumers' minds. You don't need to cringe about it. Look. The Wii U, personally, if you put a Wii U in my left hand and a Switch in my right hand and say which would you throw away, I would throw away the Switch in a heartbeat because I think the Wii U was a better console. But here's the thing.
I blame mostly the market for how much the Wii U got punched in the face.
But here's the thing. It doesn't help to not face facts, even if you don't like them. So in this case, I'm going to keep it real. Look.
Yeah, I was just saying that if anything, I felt the market punched the Wii U more than the customers.
You know, like I said, well, the people who had a Wii U kind of I think most of the people who owned a Wii U and really played it thought it was a great console. The problem is that wasn't a lot of people. You know, the Wii U is Nintendo's second lowest selling hardware device. So, you know, I mean, that's just the way it is. Sad, but true. But like I said, personally, just me personally, I think the Switch, the Wii U is a better console than the Switch. But, you know, everyone wants to do their own thing. Listen, that's their business. That's their prerogative. I can't tell you what to do and not do. But as a business, they rushed it out there to get it out the door for that fiscal quarter. And they knew that the Joy-Con had issues, but they were banking on the games would be enough that people would play this system, and they would fall in love with the games. They would enjoy playing the games the way they are. And look, it worked. Okay, people complained about the Joy-Cons. That didn't stop them from fucking buying Switches. I mean, and for people who are like, hey man, how about your system and your Joy-Cons? To be honest with you, I use my Pro Controller with the Switch most of the time. I do not use the Joy-Cons because I think they're just shitty controllers. They don't feel good in my hands, really. And that Joy-Con single-player controller where you take the two Joy-Cons, like, I'm still pissed that they shipped a Joy-Con with that shitty D-pad. Because here's the thing, if there was ever a company that knows how to make a good D-pad, it's Nintendo. And yet they fucked up making a D-pad on a Joy-Con.
Granted, that was to support 2-player locally.
Yeah, I understand that, but here's the thing. I don't give a fuck about 2 players locally.
Okay, now you're just being an a-hole with that line.
No,
I'm going to say that if anything, it usually supports 2-player controls locally, but if anything, some people are not going to be able to have 2 players all the time, and some people sometimes have to play with one control. Need 2 controllers to play 2-player games with just one. With the fact that some controls are needing 2 controllers.
Here's the reason I think that argument kind of doesn't hold that much water, at least to me. The counter argument that people make that it needed 2 controllers. Because I bought the Wii at launch. The Wii at launch came with 2 controllers. 2 controllers, 2 nunchucks. I think it came with it came with all types of bells and whistles it came with, and a game. All right. And I think that Nintendo's philosophy has changed a little bit in how they basically deal with that type of stuff. That being said, I stand by the Joy-Cons being kind of like, there was no excuse for a Joy-Con, or they could have at least given people the option of saying, well, if you don't like this, you can wait. But like I said, they wanted to get They wanted to get the sales out there. They wanted to get the fiscal, they wanted to get the numbers out for that for the end of their fiscal year. So I can listen, business-wise, I can understand it, but from a financial standpoint, but as a long-term customer, I felt like it was kind of fucking over fans, and in a way, it kind of was. Not a major fuck over. It's not like how Sony does with losing people's, financial information. Yeah, financial information and stuff like that. But it's not, it's not to the level that it normally should be. Kenoshi, you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
So
the thing about Gray, I don't use the Joy-Cons that much.
Yeah.
Because I just like the Pro Controller better.
It's funny. I'm the only one that uses the Joy-Cons and the normal controller.
Well, the thing is, they haven't really released a game that really uses the Joy-Cons really well, in my opinion. When No More Heroes 3 comes out, if it uses the Joy-Cons well, I'll use it for that. Where's the Wii Sports Resort type game for the system that uses the Joy-Cons really well? Where's the fishing game? Where's the golfing game? Because here's the thing, the Joy-Cons have the potential to be basically the better version of the Wiimote with some of the games, especially when it's utilized well. They have not touched that. Literally, it's completely unutilized.
And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go on this little bit of a rant, and this is going to hurt. This is where the Wii U shined, where the Switch is looking like yesterday's news.
It's fucking up, yeah. And look. I'm saying this as a Nintendo fan. They're fucking up. They're not using do you know how fucking fucked up it is to play a Legend of Zelda game that doesn't have fishing? Well, it has bomb fishing, but that doesn't count. And you have the Joy-Cons, which have HD rumble, and then you play Mario Odyssey, which has sand fishing with you can basically steal a Lakitu and fish using a Lakitu, and a Mario game has a better fishing mini game than a Zelda game. Do you know how much bullshit that is?
Makes me wonder, how much did they gut Legend of Zelda?
Well, I mean, you wouldn't have had that on the Wii U because they would have used the gamepad. But I mean, definitely on the. I mean, they ported it over to the Switch. You couldn't have used the Joy-Cons for that shit. Really?
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, whatever.
If you're taking stuff out of the Wii U, then you could at least try to add something to make the Switch feel more like it belongs there.
The thing is, they wanted a really big game for that holiday season, so that was their big game. So it is what it is. But hey, back on point. At least they listen. They apologized for it. They recognized it was an issue. They apologized for it. And really, in the grand scheme of things, it's a non-issue. Hey, look, there's some shit that Microsoft has done that they never apologized for. Remember the 360 Red Ring of Death?
Oh.
Okay, it is not acceptable for someone to have to buy 3 Xbox 360s. Not because they're upgrading, but because you put out a flawed product and people had to buy multiple versions of that flawed product. That's some bullshit.
Yeah, I had 2 Xbox 360s, and the reason I stuck with the 360 is because, guess what? That's where all my friends were playing it at the time.
So peer pressure, huh? Bandwagon and peer pressure. Yeah, I mean, listen, man. They love using the fallacies on people. Well, don't you want to play with your friends? Fuck my friends. I play single player games. I want to play with my friends.
For me, I play multiplayer and single player.
Plus, a lot of it is, you put a lot of money in Xbox Live.
You invest in the infrastructure. Yeah. Look, man, I totally get it. When I was taking my business courses in college, where you learn about fallacies and business psychology and how they basically use like advertising psychology and stuff like that, they use these fallacies in order to basically in order to get people on. And one of the big ones is bandwagon, which is, hey, your friends are into it. Don't you want to play with your friends? And, fear of missing out. Don't you want to, hey, man, your friends are going to be so far ahead of you, and investing in an ecosystem, which is, it works, though.
Well, that's the Apple trap. The ecosystem. Plus, it's kind of a Microsoft trap, but not entirely. Because with Apple, you essentially have to depend on all of Apple's first party stuff, and you can't really go anywhere second or third party wise. Whereas with Microsoft, there are ways around, certain things.
Yeah. Look, listen, man. Everyone has their own
preference.
Yeah, it depends on preference and basically what you're gonna fall into. Like me, like I said, like a lot of that shit doesn't work for me because I'm an only child. Like I always basically had to entertain myself. So the whole bandwagon thing. Well, don't you want to play with your friends? I mean, it's cool if you can. It's cool if you can get your friends into shit that you like, or if they're into shit that you like. But as an only child, and like I've always kind of been like kind of a lonely person. Like not a lonely, but an alone person. Like when I was in high school, I was like the only black kid in my school for like 3 years. Like I'm the only, like, so I'm used to not like that peer pressure shit didn't work on me. Oh, bandwagon, don't you want to play with your friends? No, not really. I mean, like, here's the thing. I have a gaming PC, so even back then I had a gaming PC. So if I wanted to play with my friends, I can go online with my DSL. And play like that. I don't need to, and I laughed at people playing Xbox Live and paying for that fucking online. I was like, are you out of your goddamn mind? Because I was like, look, I got DSL. Why am I paying for shit that my parents are already paying for? Now that I'm grown and have my own shit on my own house and stuff, like, why the fuck would I pay for online that I already paid for the infrastructure for because I bought the product and I'm paying for the online infrastructure that I get through my ISP. Like, what the what type of dumbass shit is that?
Yeah.
But I mean,
Apparently,
basically,
pressure works.
Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo have fooled these people into doing it. It's brilliant. It is fucking brilliant. You know what that's like? That's like going to a bar, right? And paying for... That's like going to a bar and paying for a meal that includes a drink. But then, on top of you paying for the meal, which includes a drink, you're like, yeah, I would like a Coke. They charge you for another soda. On top of that, they're like, well, you know, we got to pour this soda, and that's going to take effort. We had to go to the bar and pour the soda. That is such bullshit.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons that I even now, I'm just like, you know. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, Microsoft needs to apologize for that 360 Red Ring of Death fiasco. Just like Sony needs to apologize for always getting hacked and losing people's personal information. That's an apology. You need to apologize for that shit.
I expect them not to apologize.
No, they gave people for people whose shit got hacked. Because when I got onto the PlayStation 4 store, apparently because apparently I also had an account with PSN, even though I deactivated I deactivated my account. I didn't delete it. I deactivated it. They gave me $15 for, you know, like, here's $15 on the fact that someone could have stolen my shit. Actually, they couldn't have, because the credit card information that I had saved to that account, I no longer have that credit card. It's expired. So even if they stole it, it wasn't going to do shit. The joke's on them. The joke's on you, motherfucker. But
it's definitely, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm laughing. Because if they tried to use that credit card no longer exists. So, with that being said, this kind of leads into the main thing. What type of gaming sins should companies apologize for? Or literally, like, they need to be like, you know what, I'm sorry.
Oh, this should be the number one right now, as far as I know, and that's if this game is able to brick your system.
Oh, you mean if it's broken? The game is broken?
The game is so SOL that it shuts down the very thing that it plays in. If it does that, they should owe you an apology and a beeping new system.
Well, what game does that? What game is that broken?
Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Well, it's breaking people's system?
It did that in the beginning. Trust me.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, if anything, I know that it was one for another system. I think it was either Sea of Thieves or No Man's Sky. I'm not sure entirely.
I didn't know that, so that's why I'm like, I didn't. Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Actually, there's actually some news about it too. So, if anything, I have to find it again. But yeah, it happened.
I'm just saying, I didn't know that. I didn't know that Breath of the
Pokemon Sword and Shield.
That Pokemon Sword and Shield was doing that type of shit. I didn't know that. Sorry. Because I don't have that game and I didn't buy it, so I'm kind of like one of those people like, it sucks to be you, but you know, this is why you don't buy shit day one.
If anything, I was actually checking on news. I was checking news, especially since the game already was a flop to me when it showed up. Even though people say that is one of the best sellers. F you there.
Look, here's the thing. Just because something sells well doesn't make it good. All right?
Yes, that's the thing that I tried to say to people about the Switch, which I'm really having the hard say about that, and about Pokemon itself.
Well, I mean, I'll give you an
And, oh,
example. I'll give you an example, okay? The PS1 is one of the highest selling consoles of all time. And yet, when they made a PS1 Mini, a PS1 Classic,
look how much of a mess that was.
yeah, so just because something sells a lot doesn't make it necessarily a good product. You know?
Mm-hmm.
You know, at least in my opinion, I don't think that makes it good. I could be wrong, though, because, you know, people don't like hearing that.
And Taylor Swift sells millions of copies.
But then again, this is what happened with Last of Us 2.
You know, you know, there are people who sell a lot of CDs. Albums, because these days they even call CDs albums. But there are people who sell a lot of albums, but you listen to their music, it's like, this is trash. You know,
Yeah,
just because something sells well doesn't make it inherently good.
I was convinced because, 90% of everything just seems to be trash. There's like really only 10% of anything that truly sticks with you.
I mean, the thing is that it's subjective. Okay, like here's the thing.
For me, that's how I feel.
Shit that's made for mass market appeal, by its inherent nature, is going to have certain, because here's the thing, it's gonna have to be as incongruous and nice as humanly possible. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like it's just not gonna be. It's gonna have certain issues. You know, and that's kind of the issue with, in my humble opinion, with some of these games, and it's like it's designed to be very. It's designed to hit a mass market appeal. But the thing is that just because something is popular with a large amount of people means that it can't afford to be provocative or really do anything different, because
it can't reach out of its safe zone, right?
Yeah, I mean, people wonder why Pokemon hasn't really made any substantial changes in years, because they want to get the largest market they can, and like the large market doesn't really, the large market doesn't care about shit like that. The large market isn't trying to do different things. I mean, why do you think every game is so fucking simplistic and just kind of too damn easy, really? It's like, this is.
I mean, there's a difference between being a niche market and appealing to the mass audience. And sadly, the mass audience is seeping into the niche at this point.
But that's my own personal opinion. I think that mass market appeal is where a lot of companies mess up, because here's the thing. Okay, look, there's nothing wrong with something being niche, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not everything is for everybody, and that's okay. That's okay. It's okay with something not being for everybody. All right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why people, it's gotta be this. Look, not everything needs to be for everybody, okay?
Yeah, I mean, there is such a thing as a targeted audience.
Pardon me? What were you gonna say, Kenoshi?
Just quit making super expensive products, so you don't have to worry about selling so much.
Yeah.
That's the problem. These companies that create these AAA titles, what they end up doing is they spend 3 arms and 4 legs on a game, and they can't make their money back even when they sell like 5 million copies. So again, they spend way too much damn money on the game rather than, scaling things back and focusing more on smaller projects that could potentially lead up to a bigger project. And for example, what if instead of having a big AAA Assassin's Creed every year, what you would have a smaller project, let's say Assassin's Creed, that decided to be a trilogy, and you would have between each trilogy smaller projects that would help build up funding for the next big Assassin's Creed.
I mean, yeah, that's what they did back in the day during the 7th gen. Like basically these companies would put crap down on they would put shovelware on the Wii, and then they would put their bigger budget games on the PS3 and the Xbox 360.
Yeah. Well, you can't really do that anymore because of the fact that I don't know why. I mean, the Switch is. I mean, there is plenty of shovelware on the Switch. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You've been on the Nintendo eShop. Oh.
Well, basically, that's how you know you're a successful console when they can put when these companies can put out shit and it sells well. Yeah, you're successful. Yeah.
Yep.
So, I know some people are going to get angry when they hear that. How dare you? But, I mean, that's just the way it is. So, so basically, yeah, I mean, it is, you're absolutely right. It's unsustainable. It's unsustainable for these companies. AAA development, as we know it, is unsustainable. It's like putting like $100, $200, $300 million into developing and advertising a game, and then it bombs. I mean, why do you think so many games are now hitting PC that used to be console exclusive? And I mean first-party games like Horizon Zero Dawn. That was a Sony console exclusive. First party. That's like Nintendo saying, I guess we gotta put Mario Kart 8 on PC. That's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
That's horrific. That's like, man, I can't make my rent, so I'm gonna make my wife go turn tricks at a mall. That's terrible. That's horrific. And that's what these companies are doing. So, yeah, I mean, I can't think of any other. Let's see, shit that companies need to apologize for. I think that there's other shit that these companies need to apologize for, like I don't know. This is perfect. I'll tell you something else some people need to apologize for. Google needs to apologize for Stadia. and here's the thing, not for Stadia itself. Let me clarify this.
I better mute myself before I laugh too hard.
they don't need to apologize for Stadia itself. Okay, it's not like, fuck Stadia itself. They need to apologize. They need to apologize for they need to apologize for how it came, the state that it came out in.
Yeah, definitely. I think, they overpromised and severely underdelivered.
That's an understatement.
Because here's the thing: the idea of being able to play, your games, okay, being able to play your games in different, being able to play your games like that, that's actually not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea to be able to basically play your games in all different types of places and all that type of shit. There's nothing, there's nothing wrong about that. I'm not gonna be like, oh, how dare they want to introduce a way that people can play games without having to buy a whole bunch of hardware. I'm not gonna be like, well, fuck you for not wanting to spend, because if you want to get a decent gaming PC, you're looking at least between $600 to $800. Decent, yeah. Not great, decent. If you want to play at least some of the console games, you're looking at like 80. You're looking at like 300 right there, 300, 400. At least $300 to $400 just for a Sony or Microsoft console. I'm not talking about the Switch, okay? Because Switch games are not going to be on Google Stadia, so take that out of the equation. But if you want to play at least a good amount of third-party games that might be specific to a console, you got to get one of those. And I mean, to be fair, that's kind of fucking expensive. So for someone to just pay $100 and play those games online, that's not a bad idea. The problem is that literally Google was so excited about the technology without actually thinking about how that technology was going to make its way to the public, that it literally was like someone who was really excited about losing their virginity, but after prom, but they didn't have a prom date, they didn't ask anybody, and they had no fucking idea about how sex worked in the first place. They were just excited about the idea about the whole thing.
That's a fail to the nth degree. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oof. That's Google Stadia. Hey! Let's fuck up.
I'm trying not to laugh hard again. Every time that system is mentioned, is how much it fails. It always gets me feeling brighter every day.
No, well, I'm not excited with joy about Stadia failing. The reason I'm not is because people are going to lose their jobs. People are going to get fired because of this shit, and people who probably didn't deserve it. People were like, "Look, you're getting paid to make this. You got to make this."
That's probably the only thing that's keeping me from laughing harder.
And also, like, some really good shit got destroyed so that this shit could come out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not cool that... It's not cool that, like, some good shit got destroyed so that this trash could be made. Okay, we lost Google Hangouts for this shit.
Yeah, that's some of the other stuff that makes me stop laughing. That we lose something that actually helped us keep in touch and actually do some of these things for a pile of rubbish.
Just trash. So, I mean, they need to apologize for that. We said Microsoft needs to apologize for They need to apologize for.
And I mean, they've seen OnLive, they've seen the failures of OnLive,
and numerous other online only things on there. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, well, that doesn't apply to us. We can do whatever the fuck we want to. Fuck you.
Yeah, because we're Alphabet.
Because we're Google. That's why we can do it. We're Google, goddammit.
Well, I think Alphabet owns Google or something. I don't even know how the whole thing works.
If you don't like it, get out of my face. Because we're Google, goddammit. We're Google. Get out of my face. We're Google. And so, basically, it's just sad. It's really, really sad that good shit had to die so that this shit could come out. And to me, that's not cool.
Huh. To be honest with you, it's only it's ice cold, really, it chills you to the heart knowing that this happened.
Good shit died so that this shit could live. And it's not, here's the thing. If it was something that, if they could get it working, had they launched it in a better state, had they actually taken their time to make sure the shit was done right the first time, so then it wouldn't be as bad. But literally, they just kind of shat this out and then acted surprised that it's not doing what it needs to be doing. That's hilarious to me. They're like, oh, I can't believe that. I'm like, I can believe it. I'm not surprised. But anyway, any other companies need to apologize for some shit that they fucked up on. No one has any other company that they feel needs to apologize for some shit.
I think Nintendo needs to apologize for their online service.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Well, the fact that they have less features from
I'm not going to even mention
from their previous console. I mean, that's how do you do that? How do you take a step back from
that is a good question. Yes, they should apologize for that. But I think the president has already said that their online isn't what it needs to be. So, I mean, basically, they're at least acknowledging that there's a problem. Which is better than I can say than a lot of other companies that just are like, no, it's not fucked up. It's like, look, the dude's bleeding out of his ass. That's not fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, Japanese company, it just must be just Nintendo or... Yeah, I'd say it's more Nintendo because even some of these Japanese companies are super stubborn. They're willing to apologize or, sometimes they'll take pay cuts or whatever. Not these Western companies. Western companies will be like, no, we're just we'll lay off all of our employees.
Yeah, I mean that's what Activision did. Activision literally, they were like, we had record profits this year, and then fired like 800 people. I mean, how the hell are you gonna do that? We had record profits this year, and then you're firing people? It's really hard for me to trust. It's really fucking hard for me to think, because typically speaking, you fire people when you don't have enough work, and you don't have enough revenue coming in. So you fire people when you don't have enough revenue coming in, and yet you need some people around in order to do some work that is bringing revenue in, but you don't have enough revenue in for everyone to get paid what they should be getting paid. So you can either take a pay cut, which is what Nintendo did, which is what Iwata did. He took a pay cut during the 3DS years and the Wii U years. Took a pay cut so that no one got fired.
Yeah.
Or you can just start firing people, which is what Bobby Kotick did, which tells you the business philosophy between a Nintendo and a ultra Western company.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's why, I mean, like, even when Nintendo fucks up, I'm kind of like, okay, I'll give Nintendo more of a benefit of the doubt for some shit than other companies, because typically speaking, when they fuck up, they'll at least acknowledge that they fucked up. Western companies won't even acknowledge that. They're like, no, we didn't do anything. Like, Microsoft still hasn't apologized for the Red Ring of Death. Still hasn't. Still has not. As a matter, like, people forget. Yeah, eventually you could return a defective Xbox 360 and get a replacement, but you had to pay for the shipping. You had to pay for the shipping for it. So it was like $50 to $80 depending on where you were. But I mean, like, they fought people initially to replace those broken fucking 360s. They fought people like, oh, we can't take this. No, it voids the warranty.
Well, the thing is, yeah, and they had to be the first console out of the gate.
Yeah, they had to beat the 360. I mean, they had to beat the PS3. Never mind that Nintendo was going to come out with an SD console that was basically a Super GameCube and kick both their asses. I mean, that's the...
Yeah.
I mean, literally, that's like a dude saying, I'm first through this door, but there's a monster waiting on the other end to eat your ass. Why would you jump through that door first? I'm going to let another motherfucker take a jump through that door and see what's going on, and then I might go after him. But Microsoft has always had a Western... Microsoft, we now know why Microsoft can't run a successful console division. And Peter Moore told us when he was the head of Xbox's thing, he said, look, we learned everything we know about making a console from Sega. Oh, that explains why you don't know how to run a successful console division. Because if you learned it from Sega, shit, Sega couldn't run a successful taco truck, much less a console division. Xbox's thing. He said, look, we learned everything we know about... And I know some people might get angry when they hear that. They're going to be like, well, how could you say that about Sega? Allow me to elaborate. Sega had one commercially and critically successful... They had one commercially successful console. The Genesis. And the Genesis was made to compete against the NES.
NES.
So basically, the Genesis was made to compete with a console that came out in 1983 in Japan. All right, here, let me look up when the NES came out, because I don't want to be the Famicom. The Famicom came out in 83. It launched in Japan July 15th, 1983. It came out in America in 86, but essentially a Famicom and an NES it's functionally the same console, just a different shell. So basically, you were competing against a console that was already at that point 7 years old. It was on its way out the door. Okay, it was old. It was long in the tooth. It was on its way out the door. So really, it's basically like saying, man, we can't. It's like a boxer. It's like a young boxer beating up an old guy. Of course, you're gonna win against an old guy. He's old. He's past his prime. His teeth. He's old. He's all fucked up. Cause think about it, okay? The Sega Genesis had 2 years where they had the market to themselves. I know people are going to say, what about the TurboGrafx 16? But who cares about the TurboGrafx 16?
That's another story.
Actually, the TurboGrafx 16 did well in Japan. Actually, the TurboGrafx 16 launched in 88. No, it launched in the PC Engine. The PC Engine launched... Okay, no, it launched in 87. So it launched in 87, and so basically it had a run of the market for 2 years before the Genesis came out. So basically, it dominated. It was better than the NES because it had 2 8-bit processors instead of 1 8-bit processor. And it basically, it really had a huge market share in Japan. And the Sega Genesis comes out, and it basically... I don't think the Sega Genesis ever really dominated Japan. It never dominated Japan. It basically had a market split between the NES, the TurboGrafx 16, aka the PC Engine, and Sega Genesis. And so, like Sega had one commercially and critically successful system. That was Sega Genesis, and that's because of marketing. It wasn't because, it was a particularly great console. Well, I don't know. There were some good games for the system, but it had 2 years.
It may vary.
It had 2 years of they could do whatever the fuck they wanted. And then the Super Nintendo comes out. And Nintendo basically just starts dropping game after game after game. And I mean, games that were legitimately some of the best games of all time dropped on the Super Nintendo. Super Mario World, Legend of Zelda Link to the Past, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy IV, Final Fantasy V, Final Fantasy VI, Lufia 2, Breath of Fire 2, Final Fight 2, Final Fight 3, Street Fighter. Like, all of these really good games drop in on the system. And basically, Sega tried to fight back. They had that Mortal Kombat shit. We got the best Mortal Kombat with blood, even though, I will tell you, Mortal Kombat is not that good of a fighting game.
Fighter game?
Yeah, I don't consider it to be a good fighting game. I think it's kind of trash, but that's just me.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so Sega, if you learned everything you know about the business industry from a company that had, Sega had Master System, Sega Genesis, Sega Saturn, Dreamcast. They had 4 console generations and only one of them was successful? That's who you're going to model your business model after? That's like you cheating. That's like you literally cheating using. That's like you copying someone's answers for an exam where they have it's essay questions. You have 5 essay questions. Each essay question, you have 4 essay questions. Each essay question is worth 25 points, and they only got 1 right. Why would you use that person as the person to cheat off of? That doesn't make sense. Kenoshi, your thoughts? Okay, I guess he's gone. So, Microsoft needs to apologize for that shit. They need to apologize for the 360, which they never did. They need to, but they won't because they're assholes. But with that being, well, because basically one of my when I was taking a psychology course, one of my teachers said the hallmark of a truly intelligent person is when they can recognize that they were wrong and they made a mistake and they apologize for it. Because here's the thing, an apology costs you nothing. Like, literally, the only thing it costs you is that, like, if you're an arrogant person, it hurts your ego. But if your ego is more important to you than growing and becoming a better person, then you're not a good person anyway. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you fuck up, if you can't admit when you fuck up, and then try to become, and then see why you fucked up, how you fucked up, and how you cannot make that mistake again, how can you grow if you don't acknowledge when you fuck up and, do something that's wrong? Like, if you never acknowledge when you do something that's wrong and try to do better, if you never acknowledge that you did something wrong, then you can't do better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to make this more realistic, look at Bethesda. Okay, Bethesda doesn't make their game. You want to know why Bethesda's games are so fucked up? Because Bethesda doesn't actually fix their bad coding. They just patch over it. So they have dirty coding. So basically, it's the reason why when you play a Bethesda game, those games are not there's the reason they're a nightmare. They're unstable because they don't actually fix their coding. They just go over it. And how can you get better at something if you never go back and fix it? If you just keep on just glossing over it. So that's the world we live in today. No one wants to apologize for when they fuck up.
Because they're afraid it makes them look weak.
Well, yeah. And here's the thing: if you can't acknowledge when you fuck up and how you can do better next time, then you'll never do better. Like as someone who's worked in private industry on big projects where you basically had to where it's like a lot of moving parts, a lot of people doing different things. After you do a major thing, you go back over it, you look at what worked, what didn't work, what you could have done better, what may have worked but could have been better, what didn't work, how you fucked up, where you didn't fuck up. Like you do an after action report, and then you save that for the next generation of people who are going to work on that so they don't make those same mistakes. If you can't acknowledge that you fucked up or where you fucked up and how you can do better, you can never do better. It's like if you take a test and you don't look at where you made mistakes on that test, you're not gonna know how to do better with that same when you're tested on that material again. You know what I'm saying? But like here's the hallmark of a psychologically weak person. If they can never admit when they made a mistake or are wrong, like they don't make any mistakes and they never fuck up, that is a fucked up person. They are not normal, okay? And they aren't very intelligent because truly intelligent people who are truly who truly are mentally intelligent, they can recognize when they don't know something, so then they can go look up the information and correct their ignorance. Truly dumbass people think they know everything, and they never look up anything. But with that being said,
there's an example I would use, but I'm not going there since it's political and it's a hot plate.
Yeah, I'm not going there either. So with that being said, let's keep it moving. So we can either do, which one of these do you want to do first? The best America Fuck Yeah game you ever played, or get our unpopular opinions out of the way? So who wants to go first?
I'm probably gonna regret this, but I'd like to resume my unpopular opinion a little bit.
Okay, go ahead.
I admit that even though Nintendo did sell a lot of games with a lot of systems with the Switch, and this is the same thing that happened with the Wii, it doesn't mean that it's all bright and sunshine. I mean, for me, I would say the Wii had its problems because of how odd the controls are at times, but if anything, that was mostly on how people usually gave the games. But the Switch, it kind of got no excuse because there's good motion controls that were done in the past, and yet there's none to be used. I mean, where's even the good use of the Rumble feature that they promised? Makes me wonder what the beep were they advertising in the first place? Portability? Because if anything, the 3DS beats that.
Well, I think the 3DS has better battery life, but I get what you're saying. Kenoshi, you have an unpopular opinion you want to share?
Not this time around.
All right. I guess I'll go with an unpopular opinion.
I got that out.
I always have an unpopular opinion because opinions are like assholes. Everyone should have one. They really should. If you don't have an asshole, there's something wrong with you. So basically, I think that here's an unpopular opinion. I think that I think companies that don't acknowledge their mistakes are doomed to never change. And I mean publicly acknowledge their mistakes. It's not enough for people to say, well, in backroom chatter, people were angry about this. If you can't acknowledge when you fuck up, then you're not going to do better. And that's my own personal opinion. I know some people might get angry about that, but I don't really care if they get angry because
I'm a little mixed with that because sometimes they keep quiet to try to repair it on the down low. So
yeah, but I mean, here's the thing: if you're trying to fix something after the fact and be quiet with it, typically speaking, it's gonna seem like you're ignoring people who are talking about it, right? Like here's the thing, okay? Like
as I said, that's a problem of its own.
I'll give you an example, okay? Like if you go to one of my like one time there was an incident at one of the places where I worked when I was in high school, and someone had an accident in the bathroom. Okay, it was really bad. They just it was not a good situation. Okay, now protocol says I have to put a thing out and say this bathroom is not under control. I will deal with it. Now, if I didn't put a thing out and say there's something wrong with the bathroom and people were still walking in there, and I was like, well, I'll get to it when it's quiet and there's no one in there, it's going to make the situation worse because people are going to go in there while I'm trying to wait for a lull in activity, see that accident and think this is a nasty ass store.
Yeah.
So you have to acknowledge there's an issue, and then people will say, okay, we got to give them time to fix it. If you're like, well, I'm not going to say anything, people are going to be like, well, there's this major fucking problem. No one's doing anything about it. They must not fucking care.
As I said, some people want to put it on the download so they could at least try to say that they're busy work, so that they at least are trying to work on it. So if anything, that's its own problem.
And they're like, well, we'll get to it eventually. I don't trust people. Oh, we'll get to it eventually.
That's if somebody says that line, that's when I know there's a red flag.
I don't trust we'll get to it eventually. I don't trust people who are like, well,
yeah.
It'll get
one thing. I was saying it's one thing to do it on the download to try to keep quiet about it and work on it when it comes up. But if you say that we're working on it and it will get done eventually, sometimes it makes me look at them to say, how long have you known?
Yeah, but like I said, I don't trust companies that do that. I don't trust them when they're like, well, we'll get to it eventually. I don't.
Yeah. If a business says they'll get to it eventually, that's a red flag.
I get worried when they say that. Like, oh, we'll get to it eventually. I don't trust you. I don't trust get to it eventually type people.
Yeah. It's one thing that I'm iffy if they're working on it on the down low, but hearing they say that we'll get to it eventually, that's a red flag.
I'm like, oh, yeah, you really don't give a shit about anything, do you? That's how I feel. That's my own personal opinion. So with that being said, I guess we can get to the final section of this of the cast. Well, the final two sections, which is what is the most America fuck yeah game you've ever played? Considering that the 4th of July is this Saturday. So anyone want to dive into that pool?
I'm going to need a bit of time to think since I'm trying to really look through my library for this one.
America fuck yeah games. Kenoshi?
I guess the only thing I can play is say it's like Call of Duty games, like Black Ops 2 or whatever.
All right, that's cool.
Modern Warfare, the original. I'd say the original Modern Warfare, because it was unique at the time because we were stuck. There's a lot of World War II games. The market was flooded with World War II.
Oh yeah, and they all look the same. Like if you took a screenshot of each of the World War II games that were out, Medal of Honor, Call of Duty, and I think there was a third, Battlefield. If you took a screenshot of each of those games, World War II fighting games, and you said, okay, tell me the difference between all of these. Unless you played each of them and really played them extensively, they all look the same. They're all gray and brown and puke green.
In short, they got no beeping life and color.
Yeah.
Then again, war never does have color.
Yeah.
Except red. They always have red.
Let's see. The most...
I think I finally got one, though. If anything, I got a pair, which is kind of funny. Blast Corps for the N64 and Rock Band for multiple consoles.
Yeah, the most America game that I've played is Destroy All Humans 2. And I know what some people will say, why is Destroy All Humans 2 your America fuck yeah game? Okay, Destroy All Humans 2 is my America fuck yeah game for two reasons. First of all, the main character is Cryptosporidium. Now, Cryptosporidium is the main character in the first game, but in the second game, he's basically used the DNA that he took from
all those humans that he probed.
Yeah, that he probed, and he used it to create working genitals for his species. So basically, he uses this technology to create working genitals for his people, for his species, and he disguises himself as a president who sounds like this. What you need to know is that there's nothing to fear but fear itself. If you get what I'm saying. And you spend the game basically going around taking on alien communist aliens, Russian aliens, fighting a giant monster with all this technology, like a Godzilla type monster with all this technology, from an alien that basically disguised himself and became president of the United States, and disguised himself as a president from a very popular family whose last name rhymes with Remedy, and it's and plus it's a really fun game.
I was gonna say that of all the things to ever imagine, a game that has you destroying humans is the most American game in your system.
Yeah.
And I thought I was weird for having Blast Corps for explosions and heavy music with Rock Band for my FEF for the 4th.
Yeah. So for me, it's Destroy All Humans 2. Just because I just like the idea of you playing as a sex-crazed alien. A sex-crazed alien going around shooting who sounds like Jack Nicholson. Get your hands off of me, you damn filthy monkeys. Which is hilarious. I'm glad I pre-ordered that game on PC. I think it's also coming to the Switch, but I'm getting it on PC because why the fuck not?
I was going to say, if anything, get screenshots, please.
Oh yeah. But really, look, I like this game, but I really would love for them to make Destroy All Humans 2, because that is the better game. The first Destroy All Humans is good. The second one, so much better. But, so basically, our last little bit this is a little free topic from courtesy of Nintendo Enthusiasts, and they basically picked their top 10 best Nintendo 64 games. So the first one is Perfect Dark. That's number 10. I would put Perfect Dark higher than GoldenEye, but whatever.
I was about to say GoldenEye's on this list.
Yeah, it is. The number 9 is Paper Mario. Number 8 is Pokemon Snap. Number 7 is Banjo-Kazooie. I think Tooie's better. Number 6 is GoldenEye Double. Well, Tooie, Kazooie is a great introduction, but Tooie has more refined gameplay. GoldenEye 007 is number 6. Star Fox 64 is number 5. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask is number 4. Super Mario 64 is number 3. Super Mario Brothers or Super Smash Brothers is number 2. And Ocarina of Time is number 1. And their honorable mention is Diddy Kong Racing.
Excuse me. I'm gonna be sounding weird about this.
All right.
Seriously. Diddy Kong Racing at number 11.
Well, it's an honorable mention.
Yeah. If anything, I would have replaced one of the Legend of Zeldas for Diddy Kong Racing.
Well, I mean, okay. If I had to do my top 10 list, I would do number 10 is GoldenEye. Number 9 is I'll keep Paper Mario at number 9. Number 8, I would say Ogre Battle 64. Number 7, I would say Banjo-Tooie. Number 6, I would say Perfect Dark. Number 5, I would say Mischief Makers. Number 4, I would say Ocarina of Time. Number 3, I would say Diddy Kong Racing. Number 2, I would say Smash Brothers. And my number 1 game for the N64 would actually be Gauntlet Legends. Because that's just it's a good single player game. It's a good multiplayer game. It's just all around just a good game.
Yeah. Which means I should do my gold, silver, bronze list for this one. Bronze for me would be honestly Diddy Kong Racing. Silver goes to the Super Mario 64. Gold, this one's a tough one, but I actually give it to Donkey Kong 64.
All right. I mean, I didn't put that on the list just because I know a lot of people don't like that game. I personally like Donkey Kong 64 because it has a lot of replay value. You get a lot of play value in that game, and I know a lot of it's because of the repetition because you have to switch to different Kongs in order to get the balloons and shit like that.
That's one of the only big flaws of that game.
The backtracking and the backtracking is the only real downside of that game. But a lot of games have backtracking, and especially during that era, because they didn't have quick travel for a lot of those games. Kenoshi, any thoughts on that list?
I didn't play a ton of 64 games because, again, those cartridges are pretty expensive. So.
No.
Expensive.
Yeah.
Well,
back in the day, they were like $50, $60, $70.
$70, $80, depending on where you were. See, here's the thing. There was a sweet spot when the PS2 came out and the GameCube came out, where all these companies were getting rid of their N64 cartridge stock. Like, I went to Toys R Us and I bought like 20 games for like $300. Back in the day when they were switching over, and I got a good collection of N64 games for like I said, $300, like $250, $300, something like that. And that seemed like a lot of money at the time, but I got like 30 games, so they were like getting rid of them. So, and good games too, like Extreme G2, Army Men, like all 3 Army Men games for the N64, like some really good shit. Shadow Man, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Perfect Dark. I mean, some really good stuff, and I got it for a low price. So, like, I can't get mad,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are going to get angry. They're going to be like, how dare you But as far as Diddy Kong Racing goes, I think Diddy Kong Racing is a better kart racer than Mario Kart. Although I disagree with this guy's review of Diddy Kong Racing. He says, what does he say? He says that the game relies on perpetually close races. Mechanically, Diddy Kong Racing relies on perpetually close strategic races to deepen the experience relative to most kart racers. You really did not play Diddy Kong Racing, because if you're good at Diddy Kong Racing, because there's no rubber banding, you can basically destroy your opponents. It's great. Like, basically, if you're really good at Diddy Kong Racing, you can basically lap players that are that are at the end, and there's no rubber banding. So if you're good at Diddy Kong Racing, you're good. Like, you can destroy the computer and destroy other players. It's great. I love it. I love Diddy Kong's Racing destroying other players. It's not that bullshit that Nintendo does with the Mario Kart, where it's like, well, we want every race to feel like it's a struggle. No, if I'm really good at this game, I should feel like I'm really good at this game.
There's at times that I like the randomness that is in the Mario Kart series, but I like the fact that you don't get rubber band punched in the balls for playing good on Diddy Kong Racing.
And I know some people are going to get angry. They're like, well, if I'm losing, I want a chance. No, just get good. Look, you need to do what I did. You know what I did when I would get my ass kicked in fighting games? I would go on the computer and play the computer at the hardest setting until I got good enough to beat the computer at the hardest setting. Because if you're good enough to beat the computer at the hardest setting, you can kick a normal player's ass. All right? You had to get good.
The reason why I sometimes train with as high a difficulty as I can.
Like Perfect Dark. Perfect Dark had one of the best practice modes in the game, because you could basically have a 4v4 team, and you could basically fill your team with Dark Sims if you unlock them. Dark Sims are even better than Perfect Sims. They are insane. And if you can beat a computer team of Dark Sims, you're good, okay? You can go in any multiplayer match and kick people's asses. So don't hand me that shit. Oh, well, I want a chance. Look, if you get your ass kicked, you just get your ass kicked. Like if you're playing chess and you're not playing well and you're getting your ass kicked, that's how you learn to get better, so that you don't get your ass. That's how you know you're getting better, when you're getting your ass kicked by a lower margin until you can finally tie and win. That's how your skill level goes up. No one starts out as a master the first time they play a game.
I was about to say, the only time that I could ever say that you be a master is if you're playing a card game, and that's if you have extremely good luck.
Not unless if it's a card game that's built around having a luck element. If it's a card game built around skill, like poker or blackjack, then I'm sorry, like, you just gotta get good. We have a few other stories coming up before we wrap things up. So the first one is Devolver Direct will raise the bar for overrated marketing videos this Saturday. Devolver Direct. Oh, no, not this Saturday. Next Saturday, July 11th. As we all know, Devolver Direct are the people who at E3 would have those over-the-top, making fun of how ridiculous E3 is with their with their shit. So I'm looking forward to this year's Devolver Direct press conference, because it's going to be 12 p.m. Pacific time, so that's 3 p.m. My time, 8 p.m. GMT, or 5 a.m. for that's Grand Meridian time, so that's in like England, or 5 a.m. July 12th in Australia. Since I don't live in the UK or Australia, it's going to be 3 p.m. for me.
I was gonna say, you're You gonna enjoy the show?
Well, I always enjoyed Devolver because the whole thing is just them making fun of E3. I love it. I think that's brilliant. When you can make fun of how ridiculous E3 is, I give you props.
Here's the problem that I'm gonna have to wonder how they're gonna pull it off.
All right.
E3 got canceled. Remember?
Which means they can make fun of E3 even better now.
Oh no! This I gotta hear when it comes up. Oh boy! I can tell you want some popcorn for that show.
Yeah, and plus I like Devolver Digital's games. So that's just me. So anything else you guys want to cover before we wrap things up? Anything you guys want to pimp out or bring up as a free topic? Any rants you want to go on before we wrap things up?
Yeah, what do you think of the Divinity Original Sin games?
The what?
The Divinity games?
Sin?
I mean, they're basically kind of like Divinity. You mean the games made by Larian Studios?
Yeah.
You mean they're games that are essentially them auditioning to make Baldur's Gate? I think that the first Divinity game is kind of rough around the edges, but I think you can see where Larian Studios got better at making those games, and by the time you get to Divinity 2, it's like really well made. I think Larian Studios makes really good games. If you like old school, if you like the evolution of old school computer RPGs, like the evolution of those Infinity Engine games from back in the day, like the Temple of Elemental Evil and Baldur's Gate and Torment, stuff like that, then this is for you. I mean, the thing is this: if you want a game that's really gonna be deep and heady, and you're gonna have to make choices and really think about what you did and like plan shit out, which I like shit like that. You know, I'm that type of gamer. Like I like when you have to make deep choices in a game. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people are gonna get angry when they hear that. But that's what I like. So, with that being said, yeah.
Thank you for
the Divinity games are good.
Yeah, because I picked up the second one.
Yeah, Divinity 2 is pretty good. I mean, they're all good, man. I mean, like, here's the thing. Larian Studios doesn't really make bad games. They really don't. Like, all their games are good. Like, I've never played a bad Larian Studio game. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
You know, there's some games where it's like, oh man, this is a bad game. And then there's some games where it's like, all of these are pretty damn good. You know? I've never played a bad, I've never played a bad Rare game. Now, I know Rare made some bad games, but I've never personally played a bad Rare game. Right? Mostly because I didn't play any of the Rare games that were released under the aegis of Microsoft. Yeah. So I've never played a Rare bad game. Like, I played Battletoads. Like, Battletoads is not a bad game. It's hard, but it's not bad. I played, you know, all 3 Donkey Kong Countries. I played you know, I played Killer Instinct. I played Killer Instinct Gold. I played, you know, Jet Force Gemini, Diddy Kong Racing, GoldenEye, Donkey Kong 64, Conker's Bad Fur Day. Like, I played those games. Blast Corps. I think they're really good games. Perfect Dark. And even Star Fox Adventures, I think that game would have been so much better had they gone with their original pitch and not put Fox McCloud into it. Because it doesn't even feel like a Star Fox game. It really doesn't. I mean, adding Star Fox elements to it kind of makes it worse, in my opinion. You know, so, like, I've never played a bad Rare game. I think they made really good games back in the day. I think when they were bought by Microsoft, they got fucked. I think they went downhill when that happened, and it's sad because, they made some of the best games ever, in my humble opinion. I know some people will disagree. They're going to be like, well, you're just... How dare you say that, but... I think they made good games. I just wish they were better. That's my own personal opinion. I wish they had been better. But that's my own, I wish that maybe Nintendo had kept them on board and maybe made them better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, though, if anything, they were a sinking ship and they probably saw what was coming.
What?
As in some of their good developers were leaving, and they probably let them go before the ship really sank. Like if anything, I think the last game that they really worked for on Nintendo console, as in a home console, would be the Star Fox game.
And that wasn't good.
Yeah, that was probably their sign that they had to let them go.
But that's just me. So, anyone else have anything else they want to go with?
I think I'm all right.
All right. So with that being said, anyone else have anything else they want to bring out before we wrap things up? Nothing?
Well, basically, I'm just trying out a few other games, but that's about it.
Okay.
So, if anything, thank you very much for enjoying the BS Busters Midweek podcast. You could hit us up on Gmail or Twitter or Discord.
That's right. You can reach us at Gmail at Mr. Red Fox BSBuster at gmail.com, or at Matthew Wilson at Mr. Red Fox 91, or at Discord. I think Saturday's cast, if I do it, which I might do it depending on whether I grill Friday or Saturday. But if I do it, it's probably just going to be all viewer submitted questions, which I will compile a list of. So leave questions if you have any questions at the Gmail or Twitter. That being said, that's in the podcast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. Peace, good night, and
don't forget to hype responsibly this year.
That's right.
And don't forget to wash your hands.
And this is a no bullshit zone.